Picture yourself walking into the pharmacy in this town back in 2006 to pick up birth control. Here's exactly what the man who built the place wanted to happen when you got to the counter. Nothing. He wanted you to walk back out with empty hands. That's close to what he actually said, out loud, at a public event. In his town, you wouldn't be able to buy contraception. You wouldn't be able to buy a Playboy off the shelf. And he'd be the one deciding what channels came through your cable box. This is a real place. It has a zip code, a census count, streets with names. A billionaire built the whole thing from scratch on old tomato fields in southwest Florida, and he built it around one idea most people assumed you couldn't legally do in America. The town is called Ave Maria, and the fight over whether he was actually allowed to run it his way went all the way to national television. So let's get into how that happened and how it turned out, because the ending is stranger than the plan. To understand the town, you have to start with the man, and the man is Tom Monahan. If you've ever ordered a Domino's, you've paid into his story. In 1960, he and his brother bought a single, struggling pizza shop in Michigan. His brother bailed early and traded his half of the business for a used Volkswagen Beetle. Tom kept building. He turned that one shop into a global chain. He bought the Detroit Tigers. He collected Frank Lloyd Wright pieces. By any normal measure, he'd won. And then, by his own account, he decided the winning was the problem. Monahan has said that reading a C.S. Lewis book, Mere Christianity, turned him around. He'd been chasing more of everything, and he decided that chase had taken him somewhere he didn't want to be. His words, roughly, no more airplanes, no more yachts. He called it a relief. So, in 1998, he sold Domino's to Bain Capital for a reported $1 billion, and that freed him up to spend the rest of his life and a large chunk of that fortune on one goal. He wanted to build a Catholic university that took the faith completely seriously, not a school with a chapel bolted on. A school built around the church, top to bottom. He started it in Michigan. But Michigan wasn't the plan. The plan was bigger than a campus. Monahan didn't just want a university. He wanted a town. A whole town built from nothing, arranged around that university and its church where serious Catholics could live the way he thought they should be able to live. So the developers went looking for land, and they found a lot of it about 30 miles east of Naples, out past the last shopping centers, right up against the edge of the Everglades. Old vegetable farms, tomato fields, flat, empty, and cheap because nobody was building towns out there. The development company, a partnership between the Barron Collier companies and Monahan's own foundation, broke ground in 2005. The first resident moved in on June 30th, 2007. The town officially opened that July, and the university's permanent campus took its first students that fall. From tomato field to functioning town in about 2 years. And the center of it, the thing you see from miles away, is the church. They call it the oratory. It's this huge steel-framed structure, all sharp arches, designed with a Frank Lloyd Wright kind of influence, and it doubles as both the parish church and the university chapel. On the front, there's a marble carving of the Annunciation that stands 30 feet tall. The sculptor, Martin Varro, worked on it for 3 years, carved out of Italian marble. That's the piece the whole town is literally pointed at. Every street, every shop, every home was planned to sit around it. Now here's the part that sounds normal until you think about it. Monahan controlled the town, not in a vague way. The developer controlled the commercial real estate, which meant they got to decide who rented the storefronts and what those storefronts were allowed to be. In a normal American town, that's a city council, elected by the people who live there. Out here, at the start, it was closer to one man and his development company deciding what your town could contain. And that's where this stops being a nice story about a rich guy building a church and starts becoming a national argument. Because Monahan didn't keep the plan quiet. In the years the town was being built, he talked openly about what he wanted it to be. And reporters wrote it all down. Newsweek reported that he wanted drugstores in the town to keep birth control off the shelves, and that the developer would favor pharmacies that agreed to that. A clinic connected to the university said it wouldn't provide contraception. And the reporting went further than that. Early coverage said the plan was for contraceptives, pornography, and even abortion to be off limits in the town. There's a speech people kept pointing back to where Monahan laid it out plainly. He owned the commercial real estate. You wouldn't be able to buy a Playboy. He'd control the cable. And you would not be able to purchase contraception in this town. That got the attention of the American Civil Liberties Union. Their Florida director at the time, Howard Simon, started setting up a local chapter near Naples specifically to watch what happened. And his worry wasn't really the pharmacy. It was where the pharmacy led. He said it was naive to think this first request, that pharmacies not sell birth control, would be the last one. His fear was that a preference could harden into a rule, and a rule in a town could start to look like a law, and a private religious vision could quietly start exercising the kind of power that's supposed to belong to a government. This turned into a genuine national fight, and it was messier than one side being obviously right. On cable news, you had people making the ACLU's case. You can't run an American town where one man's religion decides what everyone can buy and read. And you had people firing straight back with a simple point. Every town in America already decides things like this. Towns decide what cable system they get. Towns decide through zoning whether a store can sell pornography. If a developer owns the land and prefers to rent to a pharmacy that doesn't stock contraception, is that religious control? Or is that just a landlord making a choice any landlord can make? That's the actual question the whole thing came down to, and it's a harder question than either side wanted to admit. Where's the line between a private person building the community they want and a private person building a place where your basic rights quietly stop applying? Nobody was totally sure. And the lawyers were circling, so here's how it broke. Under the threat of lawsuits, the founders went on national television and they changed the story. The developer Paul Marinelli went on a network morning show alongside Monahan and said it flat out. Not a Catholic town. They said the earlier reports were based on misunderstandings and that the strict Catholic rules would apply only inside the university, where Monahan was chancellor, and not to the town itself. The town, they now said, would be open to anyone. The pharmacy thing was reframed as a preference, not a ban. And that's the resolution to the cold open. The man who stood at a podium and said you would not be able to buy contraception in his town ended up on TV saying the town wasn't really like that at all. Under legal pressure, the hard version of the plan got walked back before a single lawsuit ever landed, which sounds like the ACLU won and the story's over. Except it isn't. And this is the part that makes the town genuinely strange instead of just controversial. Because you don't need a ban if you've already built the outcome. For years after the town opened, there wasn't a pharmacy in Ave Maria at all. If there's no drugstore, there's no drugstore refusing to sell you anything. There's just nowhere to go. The result the original plan wanted showed up on its own without a single rule on the books, and the town filled up with exactly the people it was built for. When you build a place around a large Orthodox Catholic university and a 30-foot Annunciation, The people who move there tend to already want what it's selling. You don't have to enforce a culture that self-selects. The rule became unnecessary because the design did the same job quietly. So what is Ave Maria now, almost 20 years in? On paper, it worked, and that's the twist nobody in that 2006 debate really predicted. At the 2020 census, the town had a little over 6,000 people, and it's kept climbing fast since, past 8,000 by the mid-2020s. By the middle of 2025, developers had sold around 5,500 homes, heading toward a planned build-out of roughly 11,000 homes. The original vision was a town of something like 25,000 people. It's not there yet, but it's climbing hard. In fact, Ave Maria keeps landing on national lists of the fastest-selling master-planned communities in the entire country. A place a lot of people wrote off as a weird religious experiment in a swamp turned into one of the hottest-selling planned towns in Florida. With a big share of buyers now coming from the pricey southeast coast, Miami-Dade and Broward, chasing more house for the money. And the ordinary town stuff keeps arriving. More homes, more shops, apartments planned, talk of hospital infrastructure for that whole eastern part of the county. The self-selection didn't slow the growth. For the people moving there, it's the entire draw. Quiet, walkable, family-heavy, built around a shared set of values, with a church you can see from your front porch. And here's the quiet irony almost nobody saw coming. The town built as an affordable mission community isn't cheap anymore. The typical home now runs somewhere around $470,000, right about the Florida average. The dream got so popular, it priced itself up to the same number as everywhere else, which leaves you with the actual question this town poses, and it's a bigger one than the pharmacy. Ave Maria is what happens when someone with enough money doesn't just move to a community they like. They build the community from zero and set the terms before anyone arrives. You can see it as one of the most American things imaginable. A man had a vision, spent his own fortune, built a town on empty land, and let people choose to move there or not. Nobody's forced to live in Ave Maria. That's freedom in its purest form. Or you can see the thing the ACLU was nervous about back in 2006. When a private person can build a place where the normal rules bend around one world view, and it works, and it grows, and people copy it, you've got a quieter question about what a town even is, and who gets to decide what's allowed inside one. The strange part isn't the giant church or the marble carving. The strange part is that a pizza billionaire tried to build a town around his beliefs, got told on national TV that he'd gone too far, publicly backed down, and then watched the town become almost exactly what he wanted anyway, one house sale at a time. If you want to know whether it actually stayed that way, the honest answer is that the town is still being written. The homes are still going up, the population's still climbing, and the question of what Ave Maria is, a utopia, a bubble, or a blueprint other people will follow, doesn't have an ending yet. So here's what I want from you before you go. Tell me in the comments, is Ave Maria the American dream or something that should worry you? I read everyone, and Ave Maria isn't the only town in America built on one person's blueprint. There's another planned community with an even stranger set of rules, and I broke that one down right here. Subscribe to Real Florida Report for the honest version of this state every week. Because the real thing worth watching isn't the church. It's what happens when someone gets to design a whole town and then finds out who shows up.